New topic on statements. Statements are the thing you write to tell Python what your programs should do. Let's start with the easiest and most common statement, the if statement. Imagine a situation where we want to ask his mark, and when he gives us his mark, the computer or our program, with respect to the value of his mark, if it is equal to 10, then the program says you exactly have the average. If his mark is not exactly equal to 10, so that is else, the program says you don't have the average. So let's go back in our Hello World project. Let's erase this. Beautiful. So the first thing is to ask the student mark from the user. So we are going to use, as you know, declare our variable mark is equals. Let's declare our variable mark, it's equal to the input function, and we ask to the user, what is your mark? So we put a question mark. When he gives us his mark, we must convert it. You remember, we must convert it in a float or in an integer. In this case, we are going to convert it in a float, so we are directly going to convert it here. We close the parentheses. That's very good. So it means that every time that the user will provide his name, the function float will convert it to a float, and we are going to do some calculation if we want with the value. Now, when we already have the mark of the student, we must say that if, so this is the statement, the syntax of the if function. If you see the color, that is the color used by PyCharm by default to show the keyword for statements. So if the mark given is equal, now notice the difference between this and this equal. This first value here, mark, is not an equal, but I'm just assigning value, but here it is equal. It means that this value is exactly the same as the value on the other side, that is 10. So if mark is 10, then the then in Python it is 2 point. So this is the syntax to declare a if statement. This is how we read it. If mark is equal to 10, then use English language or any other language. That's why Python is beautiful, because as you think your code, you can write it directly like that without any other computation. Enter. Notice this indent. The indentation is related to the fact that in Python, to show that only if this is true, so Python must in statement put an indent, and this it is equal to 4 space. Imagine that I am there, and if I want to do the same indent, I must press tab 1 2 3 4, or another way is to directly press the tab and the indent is automatically done. So if the mark is equal to 10, I want to print you have the average. Now if it is not true, that is if the mark is not 10, if it is different, I will say else. You see 2 point, else you print you don't have the average. Sorry, average. Now look at this. I told you that when PyCharm underlines my code, it means that there is a problem. Now here, what is the problem? I'm defining a string, and as I told you, I can define a string with single quote or double quote. In this case, I've decided to define the string with, but the problem is that I want to write you don't, and when I write don't, there is this quote, and Python understand it as is the end of the string that I've started here. So in order to overcome this situation, I must instead use double quotes like this and like this. I remove this. Beautiful. Now I can put this single quote, and Python understand now that it is a string because outside it is double quote. Let's run the code and see how it works. So the code asks what's your mark. If I say 10 and I press enter, the code writes you have the average because I've given 10, so mark is equal to 10. That's why it gives me you have the average. But if I run again, and what's your mark, if I give something different from 10, maybe let's say 11, and if I press enter, you see it says you don't have the average because the mark is not 10. So he has done the else part of the statement, which is this: you don't have the average. This is a simple case of statement of if statement where we have only two possibilities: either you have the average or you don't have the average. Now imagine that I'm in a case where we have many possibilities. Imagine the case where when I have the mark of the student, if the mark is less than 10, I say you don't have the average. If the mark is equal to 10, I will say you have exactly the average, and if it is greater than 10, I say you are above the average. So in that case, you see I have three possibilities. So to manage a case where we have many possibilities, we use an intermediate elif statement. So if mark you have the average, good, I will use now elif. It is always in lower letter elif. Now mark is lower than 10, then I must insert print you are under the average, and the top of the average. I erase this. Beautiful. So if I run it again, what's your mark? It says you have the average because it is equal to 10. Now if I run and again, what's your mark? If I say for example 5, because 5 is less than 10, I will have this message please printed you are under the average. So if I run, you are under the average because the value is less, and if I give a value greater than 10, for example 12, you are above the average. So when I have more than two possibilities in a statement, the all other intermediate possibilities I write them with the elif. So I have in the if statement the if once, which start the statement, and the else at the end for the closure of the statement. So it means that if I have maybe 10 other condition, I will use the elif function. Please, I will use instead the elif to specify all those other